Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the latest edition of the Gersnet Podcast. As ever, we're the Rangers podcast that is brought to you by fans and for the fans, where the content is, as always, free. We are brought to you in association with Forrest Precision Engineering. And if you want to find out more about what the world-class engineering that they provide, go onto their website at www.forestprecisioneng.com. And they also have a stunning lounge in the historic main stand at Ibrox. And for more information on how to book this unique and fantastic space, contact the club directly at hospitality@rangers.co.uk. The podcast this evening, as you know, is live on YouTube, and will also be available in the coming days on all of your podcast platforms. Tonight we'll be looking ahead to the game on Sunday against Dundee, back at another quiet week for Rangers and at the Europa League game last night against Roma. And all that's left for me is to introduce my guest. So good evening, Mr. Scott Bradley. How are you?
I'm very well, mate, apart from Rangers ruin it. But how are you, mate? How are you?
Pretty similar to yourself in that regard, really, and probably most people watching. But yeah, plenty to talk about as ever with Rangers. So we'll get stuck into it. So first thing I wanted to touch upon, and we'll not go into great details of it. It was a few days ago that it came out, the statement that the club made about the refereeing debacle, the latest refereeing debacle, I should say, about the Nick Walsh show. So I've as ever with these statements and these sort of things, are going to be divisive. For some, the club haven't gone far enough. I'm sort of the mind that what can be achieved by this, it's almost lip service in many ways. Nothing has changed, nothing will change. So, I understand that people wanting the club to go, as far as they possibly can, but can they, what else can they do?
I would say they need to be more relentless. When you look at Celtic over the years, right, look at the big song and dance they would kick up when decisions went against them. They would be relentless in the press. They'll be putting so much pressure on the higher ups, and now the roles have reversed. I think Rangers, Ben, to be honest, have been too nice over the years. There's been so many big decisions that have gone against Rangers in these games. Obviously, last year in the League Cup final, obviously Rangers should have had a stonewall penalty. And then you look at the decision on Sunday where Trusty should have been sent off. The only person that has been saying that it wasn't a red was Michael Stewart. Says all about him, really. Says it all, a very bitter guy. But that's the thing. I think Rangers just need to be more relentless. And to be honest, I act like the way Celtic do. Call it out. Be aggressive in doing it. Because we work for Celtic and Rangers are just being too nicey. And then the statement, obviously, it is what it is. Like, there was just a whole lot of nothing, really. Of course, they had to do something. They said they obviously the board said they weren't happy with the response from the higher ups, but there's really much you can do other than just continue to put the pressure on, Ben. That's really all the Rangers can do.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We'd all like to do more, but what more can you do? So moving on, then next topic that we're gonna talk about is the ever popular Kevin Felwell. Now we all know what you think. We've talked about it before. We're not going to go over whether you think he should stay or go because anybody saying, in my opinion, thinks he should go at this point. But I just wanted to touch upon the more I watch these players, these signings, the more I'm baffled, wondering like, has Kevin Felwell ever seen a football match before, let alone be in a position to be picking a winning team? Um, but I think regardless of even if two or three of these players suddenly came good, which I don't anticipate happening, I think it's too toxic now. I think the club can't move on. We can't progress while he's there because it's just so negative. He's just so. I was almost going to say divisive, but he's not because he's actually got the fans all together. But we need to grow as a club, and the connections need to be rebuilt because of false promises and disappointments. And I think the club need to. I think that eventually he is going to be removed from his position. So let's cut our losses and get it done soon.
Yeah, no, 100%, Ben. I don't know one Rangers fan that wants Kevin Thirlwell to stay. You heard it last night. The full stadium was chanting for Thirlwell to go. And that happened numerous times last night. He's toxic. The signings that have came in they've not been good enough. I've tried to give some of them time, but the one that really stands out is Chermiti. £8 million. That is staggering, absolutely staggering. £8 million, right? Zero justification for it. He's not scored a goal in 2 years before Kilmarnock. But yeah, Rangers cannot afford to go into the January window with Kevin Thirlwell still employed by the club. It can't happen. Like Rangers spent just over 30 million in the summer, right? The biggest budget since Stick Advocate, I'm sure. And we've brought in a lot of dross. And Kevin Thirlwell, if I had to make a prediction, I don't think Thirlwell will be in charge come January. He can't be. And it annoys me, being the fact that we had Davy Weir, who was a free agent, no longer anymore. He's back in football now. He was doing punditry. I think it might have been the Rangers St Mirren game. I can't remember what it was. Right, so Rangers away. I think it was Falkirk. Sorry, it was Falkirk.
It was Falkirk.
Yeah. So the Falkirk game, that was almost like him doing punditry for that game. In my opinion, was like, "Come get me, please, Rangers. Come get me. I'm watching your games. I can identify what's like going wrong." And yeah, Rangers were too set in their ways and like, no, we're determined to get Kevin Thirlwell to work. But yeah, he has to go. And that's the thing as well, as you said, there's been a lot of false promises made by the board. And obviously Danny Rohl, I think he's winning over a lot of the fan base. But obviously the dark cloud is still hanging over the team and the club, and that's our sporting director. Obviously, Patrick Stewart, I think he'll be gone at some point as well, but for whatever reason, Andrew Kavanagh and the higher-ups like him. But with Thirlwell, he's just got so much wrong, where after we appointed Martin, what was it, he said he's one of the best coaches that he's ever worked with, then a couple months later he gets a sack. So, and then obviously Chermiti, he was bigging him up on the day we unveiled Danny Rohl, talking about, oh, he's got real physical talent, blah, 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 all this nonsense. Where obviously Everton fans can't stand Thirlwell, and our fan base can't stand him because we just cannot trust him with a big budget in January. We just cannot. And I think, and say what you want about the 49ers, they do back their managers, right, with money. They do. So when it comes to January, if Kevin Thirlwell's still employed, that's going to be a big red flag for me. If with the 49ers, where they're going to be like, yeah, the signings that he's brought in haven't been good enough, but you know what, right, we're going to give you, here's another 30 odd million or so, another 20 million to go, excuse the French, piss up against the wall. So no, we can't afford to do that. But the thing that does worry me though, Ben, right, just say Chermiti starts to pick up a bit of form. I think it's going to be very unlikely, right? Just starts to pick up a bit of form. That's how Jagger starts to pick up form. Some of these signings start playing well. I think that's when the board might be like, you know what? Give you a chance now, Kevin. Like, the signings are coming good. So here's another 25 million quid to spend. And that's what does concern me. But yeah, he has to go, Ben. He has to go. He's too toxic.
I wouldn't be too worried about either of those two coming into form, to be honest with you. But there you go. No, I mean the last thing on him when I sort of this is where I'm at with it, and this might sound ridiculous and probably does, but I'm almost at the point where if he is still in place in January, I almost don't want us to spend money at that point because it's just a waste of it. I'd rather have kept it for the summer for a new sporting director. But if he's going to be in then if he's not going to be there in the summer, then let's do it now. And I suppose the difference between him and Stewart is the day-to-day fan, and I'm not sticking up for Stewart by any stretch, but the day-to-day fan, we don't really know what Stewart does, whereas Felwell, there's something tangible to mark him on, and that's his signings first and foremost, and very little, if any, have been a success, so that speaks for itself. And so we're going to move on to the game, last night's game against Roma. And we'll call this podcast Gladiators versus Boys. And I feel genuinely like that's what it was. I mean, Roma were in cruise control all night, and could have gone up the gears at any time they wanted. And to me, we just didn't have that level. But let's talk about the team. We didn't have that next level, sorry. But let's talk about the team in particular. Now, you touched on Chermiti there and how he just doesn't look like he's going to score, and I completely agree with you. The only thing I want to say is, did you feel that his overall, what he contributed in terms of holding the ball up and his touch is improving slightly? I felt, particularly in the first half, that it is. He still looks terrified of scoring goals, though.
Yeah, I would say that's one positive you can really take is the fact that even as the game was going on, he was starting to grow into it. He does have a decent first touch physically. He can be quite powering, but he can't finish to save himself, and that's what we bought him for. We bought him to score goals and doesn't look like he can find the back of the net. I mean, you look
Yeah,
on Sunday, £8 million, and he can't even finish that. It was actually embarrassing, and it just makes me. It just honestly, like, it's annoying because we've spent this money on him, right? So we need to try and make it work. We have
yeah,
to, no other choice, but we need to give him a game, because you can't have an £8 million player just rotting away in the bench. So I really, really hope he comes good, but I just don't see it, because some of the chances that he's been missing, like Dessel's on a bad day would score them, seriously. And like, when you just look at the players that we got rid of, like Dessel's top goal scorer last year, right? He was forced out because Thelwell was so obsessed with getting Chermiti. So that's why Dessers had obviously left, and I was gutted about that, because Dessers, we've been missing someone like him last night. We've been missing someone like Dessers for a long time. But yeah, I would say some positives are the opportunity that he's got decent first touch. I think he's slow as a beat in the jail, to be honest. But um, I'm not optimistic about it, Ben, because the chances he's been missing are schoolboy stuff for strikers, schoolboy stuff. But in terms of the team, though, I'm surprised by NASA started after that car crash on Sunday.
yeah,
Ama has been poor for ages. I don't know what's happened to him. Started off great. He's not been the same player since. Obviously, Connor Barron, and like, it was good to see him back in the fold. Like, I think he's been a real breath of fresh air this season. Ben, like, technically, I think he's a great player. No, but his engine is phenomenal. He'll just work his socks off for you. Like, I'm a big fan of Connor Barron now. Um, but also Mikey Moore, I'm no surprised to see him in the teams. I thought he had a decent showing on Sunday, but in terms of the game, it was like men against boys, really. Like, Roma, total cruise control, didn't have to get out of second gear. When you look at the goals that they scored, it was like, it was easy. Defensively, this is the worst I've seen Rangers defensively in a long, long time. Rangers are so easy to play against, so easy to cut open. You've seen that for the second goal as well. First goal as well. Set piece. God, how long have we been bad at defending set pieces for, Ben? It's been going on for far too long. And then obviously second half it was a bit better, but that's because Roma were like, okay, job done. They're crap. They're not going to cause us any problems. So they just kind of like sat back, done their thing. Effectively a training session for them. Came to Glasgow, got the 3 points, clean sheet. That was it really. But obviously Jack Butland, it says a lot, mate. I think I've said to you before. It says a lot that our best player this season is our goalkeeper. It just sums us up really.
yeah. No, I mean that's hard to argue with any of that. I mean, also our we can't defend. We can't defend set pieces, and we can't score goals. I mean, we just don't have a football team at this point.
Mm.
Our top goal scorer at the minute yet again is James Tavernier with six. I mean that at this stage of the season is just ridiculous. So yeah, we have major problems at this minute in time. So I want to talk about the Europa League and the rest of the Europa League games now. Where obviously we're out, we're not going to qualify. What would you use them as? Would you use them to let the likes of Finlay Curtis, who I want to talk about in a minute, get more game time? Now, in my opinion, Finlay should be having more game time. In fact, he should be starting right now, because the others have had chances. He hasn't, and quite frankly, for minutes on the pitch, he has produced more goals than anyone. So he should be starting anyway. But other than Finlay, the Europa League rest of the games now, do you? I understand that if you win games, you get more money, so I know that'll probably come into it. But would you like to see it almost as development in terms of allowing maybe Billy Rice to play? I'm not saying play a B team, but mix and match, because right now the games are pointless other than money making exercises.
No, 100%. Yeah, I like to see like guys like Rice be given a chance. Obviously, you touched on Curtis there. I don't know what's happened, like how he's not getting a sniff, because anytime he's performed for Rangers, he's been good. I think he should be starting ahead of Mikey Moore. Like, obviously, Mikey Moore's another young lad as well, but he's not a player. He's going to be off like probably January if obviously if he doesn't get enough game time, or if his performances don't start improving. But that's the thing as well. Like, you want to give Finlay Curtis, one of your own, a chance, because he's got so much energy, he's good in the ball, knows how to score as well. So yeah, I like to see like some of the young lads be given a chance. As you said, not the B team or anything like that, far from it. Because right now, I think it's Danny Rohl has to just kind of focus on trying to build the confidence up. Obviously, bring back the good harmony, and obviously Europa League games, it's possible to do that. But it's infuriating the fact that like Rangers used to boss this competition. Even last year, Rangers were not good, but Europa League, Rangers turned up, made the quarterfinals, and it's sad to see how far Rangers have fallen in this competition. 3 years ago, we were in the Europa League final. This time round, I think we're bottom of the competition. It's
Yeah.
sad. It's absolutely sad. But yeah, like some of the players, like Antman as well. Like I want to see him be given a chance in the Europa League. I want to see these players be given a chance because they need to get their confidence up. Because a lot of these players' confidence is shot to bits right now. So I'm not saying like obviously when you look at Europa League, just don't completely write it off in terms of like it's pointless games. Like it's an opportunity to try and build confidence and momentum going forward because I think this is the lowest Rangers have been in a long, long time. It wasn't even this bad 9 years ago when we came back up to the Premiership. It wasn't even this bad under Pedro. This is like rock bottom. Like this is the worst Rangers have been in the Premiership in God probably my lifetime, without without
Yeah.
uh, without a question.
Yeah, no, we're bereft of confidence and belief right now, and yeah, we're Danny Rohl's got he's doing well so far in my opinion, but he's got a big job in his hands. Now as we begin to look ahead to, I was almost going to say tomorrow, but I mean Sunday's game away to Dundee. I just before we sort of properly look at that, I wanted to talk about one player now, as a player who hasn't been getting a look in at all, and I would like to see more of. I think similarly to Finlay Curtis, I think he brings the energy, the enthusiasm, and I think this game coming up is a perfect game to bring him in, being that it's against his old team. So I want to talk about Lyle Cameron. For me, I really like what I've seen from him, and also we lack creativity, we lack goals, and he scored goals for Dundee last season. He created goals for Dundee last season, and as per we are at the minute, we are better than what Dundee were last season. So if he can do that for them, and based on what he's done for us as well, I think he has to get a start, almost for bring a freshness and bring enthusiasm. But are you surprised he hasn't got more of a look in of over the last two managers, really?
A bit, to be honest, Ben, because obviously bear in mind it was Clement that signed him, and obviously Martin didn't fancy him, and we don't know how Danny Rohl feels about him. But it's one thing as well that Rangers have been lacking for a long, long time, and that's that Scottish identity at the
Mm.
club. And like guys like Lyle Cameron and Connor Barron, and obviously Finlay Curtis. I like to see all three of them start the Sunday against Dundee because Lyle Cameron, you seen how buzzing he was when he signed for us, mate. So much enthusiasm, passion. Like he'll run through a brick wall for this club, and we need that. We need that kind of hunger and passion, excitement, energy back in the team. Connor Barron brings that. Curtis will bring that. And so will Lyle Cameron. It'll be perfect as well going back to Dens Park. And obviously he's going to get booed. And he seems like the type of player who will thrive off that. So yeah, why not? I want to see something different this Sunday because I've said to you before, I still believe Rangers can actually win this league. It's deluded as that sounds at this moment in time. It's purely because obviously I think Hearts fade away, Celtic they're no good, and obviously Rangers right now if they just build a bit of momentum, going to Dens Park, getting a comfortable victory, that can start that. And obviously, right now, I'm not really focused on the performances. I just want results. I want results. That's it. And obviously, I know you're going to touch on it, but the formation as well. A lot of people are being quite critical of it. I'm not like that at all. I actually am a fan of it because what I love about Danny Rohl is like, yeah, I don't care how we play. It's about getting results right now. And he said that, and obviously when he was unveiled as Rangers manager, he said, right, yeah, it's nice and dandy to play attractive football, but we need to win games first. And that was the opposite with the previous manager. And Danny Rohl, of course, I think he's coming across really well. One thing that really stood out to me about him was I was at the presser the other week, the Kilmarnock game, and he went round the whole room and shook all of our hands, did not miss one person out, and I was like, that's classy. That is classy. I've never seen that before. And he's saying all the right things. He's not just talking absolutely nonsense like Russell Martin did. He's been realistic. He's coming across like a total gentleman. I love how after every game, applauds the fans, goes around the whole stadium. Like he gets it. He gets it. And obviously we had concerns about Danny Rohl before he got appointed because we were thinking, right, another championship manager, he's young. Is this going to be another hipster kind of coach? And obviously Rangers fans had a lot of, they had every right to be concerned because like what happened with Russell Martin. But no, Danny Rohl's winning me over. I'm not going to get too optimistic, Ben, and be like, say, that it's coming to Jesus or whatever, far from it. But we all know he's got a big job in his hands. And I don't think the pressure of the job phases him. It doesn't. because obviously he's worked at Bayern Munich, and obviously he was a part of the Germany national team as well as the number two. Like he's been in high pressure environments, and obviously the Rangers job, I think he's got the right mindset for it as well, and he obviously knew what he was walking into. And yeah, it doesn't seem like he's going to be like a Martin where he's going to snap at the press. He's very respectful. Even on Sunday after the game, he could have just came out and lashed out and was like, "No, I don't want to speak about the bad refereeing calls or whatever." And I'm like, guy gets it, and he's just coming across with just so much class. I'm a big fan so far.
Yeah, no, I agree. So far, he's handled himself very well. I do see that he is getting something out of these players that the previous manager wasn't able to. So I am encouraged, no doubt. But just to finish off on those players that the Finlay Curtis, the Lyle Cameron. I think what's important for them is now that they get a run, they get a chance. It's not a case of, all right, we'll give Finlay 60 minutes, and if he doesn't do it, then we don't see him for 3 months. He needs to be given a few games, and whether I'm not saying he has to start every game and play 90 minutes, but whether some of those are half an hour coming on and 60 playing, I think he needs a chance to grow into the team because he's done it in short flashes. So I think it's important from that point of view that we give these players a wee bit of time. And I know it's not easy. Um, but just on Danny Rohl, as I said, I agree with you. I think he's been impressive, and I'm encouraged. But I do think that for two reasons that this is a very, very important game. I think there's more chance of me growing an afro than us running the league, to be honest with you. But I hope you're right and I'm wrong. But I think with Danny Rule, the reason I think this is very important is I think, he came in. I'm not really counting the Brand game because he was in for 2 days. And then things started to go well with two good results. And then this week, I know last week there was a referee and all that, but realistically, last week we lost and we lost last night. So there's been a wee bit of a dip. So I think it's very important for Danny Rules Rangers and for these players now to react and show a reaction. And I think also because if we go into the international break having dropped more points, the mood for the next 2 weeks is going to be awful. So I think it's important for those reasons.
No, 100%, yeah, because obviously Dens Park will be tough because Dundee should have beat us at the start of the season.
Yeah.
Obviously Celtic went there the other week and then obviously they lost 2-0. And obviously you mentioned the Old Firm game there as well. Obviously after you lose to Celtic, it's very difficult to take any positives, but the only positive that I can really take from it is the fact that when Rangers went down to 10, they kept going and going. If that was under Martin, I think Celtic would have wiped the floor with Rangers. So one thing I've noticed since Danny Rose came in, like the fight is there, the press is there as well. Like obviously seen that for the goal against Hibs, and obviously that the press led to that goal. So obviously the players are fighting for him. They're coming out saying great things about Danny Rohl. So yeah, I think the Dundee game is massive. It is. To be honest, of course it'll be great to have a very comfortable performance in that, but we need to win. That's it.
Yeah.
And obviously going to Dens Park, if we drop points, the mood for the next 2 weeks, it's going to be bad. And this season's just been so awful. Like I can't recall probably since the championship days of this Rangers being this bad. Like Rangers having this bad this season. So yeah, obviously Sunday's going to be massive. I would like to, as you said, obviously I'd like to see Lyle Cameron come into the frame, Finlay Curtis as well, and yeah, just give it a good go. And I don't know if I'm sounding deluded here, but I do think Rangers will put on a show on Sunday, and I think Rangers will win because they have to bounce back from that, and I think they will. I think they will. Even with Stephen Presley, it's surprised me at Dundee. I think everyone was saying, he's going to get sacked. He'll be the first man to get sacked. Then he's outlasted 2 Old Firm managers. It's insane. It really is. So fair play to him as well. He's obviously 2 points Old Firm as well. Aye. So yeah, I think on Sunday it's a big game, massive. If Rangers win that'll kind of like the mood it won't be as bad going into the international break.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So just as we begin to finish off here, we'll talk about the game. You've already said that you would stick with a 3-5-2. But what would be your starting team?
So basically, the only players I would like from the game last night, the players I'd like to see come into the frame is obviously Derek Cornelius. I want to see him. I was baffled how he wasn't starting last night. How big Nassau.
Yeah, me too.
I started ahead of him. I thought that was odd. I would obviously drop Chimiti for this game because the last 2 games he's not been good enough. He can't score to save himself. I want to see Miowski come into the frame. And Danilo, I want to see him start. I thought it was very harsh on Sunday when Danny Rohl obviously took Danilo off and he kept Trinity on the pitch. I thought that was odd. And obviously, as we were saying, I want to see Finlay Curtis start ahead of Mikey Moore. But that's it's like obviously Max Aaron's. Like if we're going to keep this system, right? Obviously, Max Aaron's would probably have to start in that position. So that's I wouldn't really change a whole lot, but I would like to see Miyoski come in because I do believe, mate, he is a good player. He's a very good player. Like throughout the whole summer, I'd been saying I want us to go for Miyoski. We've got him, and obviously he's in a like it's not been an ideal start for him because for one, obviously was not getting service right, and two, obviously still not getting service actually, and the fact that Trimiti's starting ahead of him. So I would like to see obviously Danilo and Miyoski up top because I feel like Danilo has been coming into a bit of a game as of late, and obviously what more can be said about his dad? Love it. Like I thought he was superb for the Hibs game, but Derek Cornelius, so I will touch on him briefly. I think he has been a big positive. I think he's a really good player, and he's showed all the signs of being a very good defender. Obviously, he plays for Canada as well, so I think that's what a positive we can take from some of the signings that obviously Kevin Thirlwell was brought in. But yeah, obviously Miovski and Big Danilo up top, and who knows, that could be a good partnership going forward. But obviously, sadly, we need to give Big Chermiti a chance because we spent £8 million on him. But it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah. I think I sort of agree with you on Miyoski. I was excited we signed him and I wanted to sign him, but I mean, I know he hasn't had much by way of service, but I think his runs have been terrible, and he certainly needs to improve his performances as well as the chances. So quickly before we finish off, though, just give me a score.
3-1. I'm not going to say clean sheet because Rangers will probably concede from a set piece, but I'm going to say 3-1 Rangers, and I think Miovski will score Danilo and the one and only Big Tav.
Fair enough. I'm going 3-2. So there you go, 3-2 Rangers. So thank you, Scott. Cheers for coming on tonight. I've enjoyed that. And thank you to all of everybody that's listening, everybody that's watching. And the podcast will be back on Sunday, and you'll be pleased to know that after me being on last Sunday and tonight, it is not me on Sunday. So it will be Craig, and he will be joined by Alan to look back on the Dundee game and hopefully look back on a victory. And again, thanks to Forrest Precision Engineering. We will be back soon.